Hello everyone and welcome to day 2 of the Strife Championship Series Qualifier. I'm Azaraki Dragon and here with me today is Lake, and we're going to go over the picks and bans of the first game of the day, which is going to be Pain and Friends versus Crimson Blade. Now the first thing that sticks out, I think, to anyone when they see this pick and ban screen is that Bo was banned for Pain, and then Crimson Blade decided to ban out Claudessa afterwards. So that's a really interesting decision because obviously after that, Pain would pick up Bastion, the only one of the 3 main tanks left on the board, and that leaves Crimson Blade with no real tank. They could go with someone like Shank, who's tanky. They could go with Ace, who's someone who's tanky. Vex can build tanky, but still fills more of a utility role. What do you think Crimson Blade is actually going to do in this situation?
I think the right side is PnF, Pain and Friends. So they are a Philippine team that is...
Whoops.
It's fine. They are a Philippine team that likes to do different strats, different stuff that is outside of the normal meta. They do run a jungler. They like to run like skirmish pick comps, so I'm assuming that they were perfectly okay with letting the Bastion go. They're not going to look for big team fighting potential, but they're going to look more for these skirmish type heroes. They do have tons of good different pick players on their team. They have a good Ray, they have a good Malady on their team, so I'm interested to see if they want to go for more of a assassinate you, 100 to 0 you in the jungle, pick you off, and then grab objectives type comp. They could grab the Vex as well. They do have a Vex player that plays a pretty good Vex. I think he's also plays Vex in the bot lane. So I'm not exactly sure what they had planned by banning both tanks. That does leave them a little pigeonholed on what they can do, but they may have a plan for it.
It's possible that they wanted to force Crimson Blade into the Bastion pick as well. Perhaps they have something that can counter Bastion really well. I feel like just a bunch of heroes that can kite really well is probably going to do very well against Bastion. Things that can dodge his stun initiate as well. So if they pick a lineup that is really good at doing that, really good at kiting around, I could see forcing them into the Bastion pick as being a possible strategy that they could be doing. So you mentioned that they like to play Vex in the bot lane, which also seems pretty weird. How does that work? Because I know usually you play Vex in the top lane because he can use his teleport down to the bottom lane while someone mid roams to the bottom lane as well, forcing a 3v1 gank with Vex's teleport on his ulti. And if he's in the bot lane, if he teleports anywhere, he's going to leave his turret completely open and they're going to be able to push down his tower.
There's a lot of strats done with Vex in the bot lane. A lot of times the mid laner will roam down to the bot lane, get the kill. That mid laner will then push bot lane while Vex ultimates up to the top and tries to force a 3v2 in that top lane. So there's a lot of intricate stuff that you could do with the Vex in the bot lane. It's a decent pick. I'm not sure if they'll run it. I had a feeling that so the Philippines do like to play a little bit of Ace, and that's where we see it here. And then they picked up the Ray. Ray's a good pick against Bastion. If you can throw out your stun while Bastion tries to Zydek charge in, you're able to kind of stun him, burst him down, do a lot of damage. As long as you can kite and peel and avoid that stun, your team should be okay. So things like Windrush or having someone that's somewhat tanky with like an Everwinter Charm, just kind of like avoiding that damage, jumping in while they're trying to follow up the Bastion and kind of counter engage is a good way to deal with the Bastion. But Ray's a decent pick going up against the Bastion, followed up by the Rook and Tender pick. Like I was saying yesterday, that Tender just is a strong hero as far as objective control. She does have a lot of utility in her kit. She's got the bindweed, she's got the shield, she's got the heal, she's got Nature's Fury, which is the plant. Her ultimate, it's a super strong objective control. It allows you to push towers, it allows you to grab these early Baldirs. On top of you grabbing Krytos, you can also use Nature's Fury. So now you have a plant and Krytos. It allows you to push down objectives and towers and have stronger Krytos pushes, which allows you to eventually save your Krytos to get to the generator and put a little more damage or possibly take the generator in situations you may not be able to do with other heroes.
Yeah, so We do also see an ace pick from Payne and Friends. Now he's got a notoriously bad record in competitive play. Uh, have any thoughts on that? I'm not 100% sure myself as to why he's not extremely viable in competitive play. I think it's maybe because he has all in, but he doesn't have too much ways in terms of like he gets kited easily. Is that generally one of the main reasons why he's not too good in competitive?
Yeah, so ace can be played in a good lane where he can become a lane bully. A lot of times you'll see the ace try to roam. He runs fit sometimes, tries to snowball his early game going into the mid game and become a mid game powerhouse. As long as there's not a huge engage and a lot of CC, Ace does okay. He's also just not very good as a solo tank because he doesn't have that initiation. So essentially, in the composition that PnF is running, you're going to have someone like an Ace or a Malady kind of start the initiation with the stun, and Ace being able to kind of side flank in and do a lot of damage to the backline. He has the avalanche, he has the spinsicle, he has just a lot of AoE burst damage, and that's essentially what he's got. So he's got to be able to build like a hybrid tanky build. A lot of times you'll see him run pincer because CC does tend to hurt Ace quite a bit. So that's typically a very common pet pickup for Ace. It's almost like running the hail. Once the hail jumps in, if you don't have something like a pincer to kind of break that CC, then hail essentially starts to become a little useless. Hail's more useful than Ace in competitive play, but Ace has been seeing several buffs in recent patches. They're just trying to get him up to par, and right now I don't see it, but maybe they know something I don't.
All right, yeah, they could possibly pull out some freaky, weird item builds and just make it work somehow against Crimson Blade. But both of these teams, just thinking it out, seeing what they're going to pick, Crimson Blade Pain and Friends spending a lot of time on these next two picks. But, they are, again, put in a little bit of a bad position considering that they have no real chance for a main tank of Bo Claudessa or Bastion. And the new heroes are also banned out, so the three ones that were recently released, no team can play them in this tournament or next week's qualifier because we want to get the best teams in the SPL. We want the best teams to qualify. And if we include those three heroes in the rotation, then there's a really good chance that someone could pull out a cheese pick and win via upset, well, not necessarily upset because upset still means that they played well, but just win off of some cheese that people aren't expecting, even though they're not as skilled as another team, or if they don't work as well as a team, or if their rotations are not as good as another team. So that's one of the big reasons we've decided to just global ban all of the new heroes. But it looks like they will pick up Caprice and Shank, so they have both Ace and Shank. As you said, Shank has the chance for initiation, so that can have extra room in that respect. And Ace and Shank are also fairly tanky, so they could round out their lack of a big tank with both of the big bruisers in the game, which seems to be what they're doing. And they also have Caprice, so that's going to give them a lot of extra burst damage. It looks like they're probably going to want to start winning fights as quickly as possible. Just win it in the initial burst. We'll have to see what their last pick is. But what do you think about those two picks as well?
So I think the Shank Caprice pickup is very much a PnF style play. I said that they like to go for the skirmish, the fights in the jungle, the random odd number fights, and Shank kind of provides that movement speed and utility. Caprice has the ultimate, and the quick draw is able to kind of move around that map and gank lanes. So I could see them trying to start fights kind of odd numbered out and try to really force objectives that way instead of kind of sitting in lane and being static. I know that PnF really likes to fight, so they're going to have a lot of early aggression against CB. CB, last time I watched them yesterday, it seemed like they were playing a more traditional style. They like to farm it out, maybe roam a little bit, but they were generally farming it out towards that mid game with a few other rotations. They actually impressed me. The only problem I seen with CB yesterday was that they did a terrible job farming in lane. That was like the only downfall. If I were to give them any constructive criticism about where they were sitting yesterday, I think the only thing that really handcuffed them to being a good or having a good team fight, because they actually executed extremely well. A lot of their skills were used at the right times. Their players did the right things, and they were still winning team fights. But their players only had like 300 GPM coming out of lane, while the other team was well over 400. So there was definitely a disparity there. And because there was a disparity and they were still coming out with even team fights, I think if CB can clean up their CSing today, get those brawler kills, they were on top of the Baldiers. They were a few times they were actually right there waiting for Baldir to spawn just so they could kill it again. So they do have some good rotations and control. I just want to see if they can clean up their CSing. And if they can, I expect them to make it pretty far today.
Yeah, and they do have some pretty good lanes as well. They have Bastion Malady, really easy to shut people down. They have an extremely strong level 2 that can really bully out the opponents as soon as they hit it, especially if they get level 2 before their enemies. That is a huge power spike that they have there, just simply because the amount of CC that both of them have. If either Bastion or Malady lands either of their CCs, the other one can follow up quickly, and that's about 2 seconds of being stunned, which is quite substantial. That gives you a lot of time to get more auto attacks off, a lot of more, just some more abilities, and they're just really efficient at trading as well. In terms of the other lane, we have Tinder Rook or Tinder Hale. I think it probably Tinder Rook, because that just seems more like a lane that would be super successful up there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a Tinder Rook, and it's not an uncommon lane. We definitely seen that a few times yesterday. It was played by Surreal Gaming, and I believe it was also played by Flipside Tactics. It's just a strong lane. It's not as strong as some other lanes, but Rook has the survivability that other ADs don't. He also has the early burst that some of the other ADs don't. And if Tinder can land that bindweed, then Rook can easily follow up and still kind of survive the fight with other things, with his invulnerable, his hooks. He has a lot of utility to provide that early game aggression, and he also scales well going into late game. And then on top of that, you have the Bastion Malady. So that's more than likely going to be that mid lane pickup. It's very aggressive, has a lot of kill potential, double stuns with the Zydek charge and the Whirlwind. Once you get a few kills, you don't actually have to push the lane with the Malady and the Bastion. Once you get a kill, Bastion could kind of at that point 1v1 and push the lane all by himself. He has a lot of utility in his kit, and it allows Malady to actually roam and start to affect other lanes. So that's one of the bonuses to running that. On top of that, you have the Hail. So Hail's going to make up for that solo initiation Bastion. He has an AoE ultimate knockup. He has a Q reset, which allows him to spin through once someone dies within a certain radius. So he's a very good utility tanky hero. A lot of times you'll see him have to run like Pincer because he is prone to being countered by CC, and they do have a lot of CC on their team with the Ray and the Caprice. On top of that, Hexbanes really start to hurt Hail as well. So a lot of times, like I said, you'll see the Pincer come out, which is a very common pickup for the Hail. On top of that, you'll see a Stone Skin, which reduces that CC for a set period of time and reduces the damage he takes. So I really like the overall pick comp from CB. It's very versatile. I would call it more of a balanced comp because they have the CC from the magic damage mage. They have the double initiation. They have the Rook ult, which has initiation. They have a lot of pick potential. They have objective control and Lady Tender. Their comp is just overall complete. On the other side, PnF, you have the skirmish type comp with the Ace, Ray, Caprice, Shank, and Trixie. Trixie's there to just kind of help push the wave, and then you have the Shank, help get those picks, but that Caprice is there to just be all over the map, and along with the Ace. So that's something else you have to worry about, is you could be sitting in lane, and next thing you know, you just get double jumped on by Caprice and Ace. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this skirmish comp and see if they actually do what I think they're going to do, and that is essentially roam around the map and start forcing different odd man objectives.
Yeah, a lot of the game is going to come down to vision control by CB and just making sure that they call out whenever someone has gone missing in lane. And one thing that I am also noticing from PnF is that they do have quite a bit of lockdown if Shank were to get a pick. If you see Shank hook someone with his ultimate, that person's pretty much guaranteed to die, considering they have Ray, Caprice, Ace, and Trixie. That's a lot of straight up burst damage and a lot of follow up CC as well. Caprice has a stun, Ray has a stun. They're both AoE, so that can be something that works to their advantage quite a bit. And on top of that, if they do want to go for just a full initiate, that sort of same thing works. If Ray goes for rocket boots, which he really should, he'll end up being able to initiate fights and get picks with his ultimate, or sorry, with his stun. It's not his ultimate. And Caprice is going to be able to jump in with her stun as well. I keep wanting to call them ultimates, but she's going to jump in with her stun as well, and that's going to be a pretty decent amount of damage that's done in an AoE at the beginning of a fight. So that's something that they also have going for them as well.
Yeah, so I'm actually really interested to see what pets they run, because that's really going to tell you a lot about their playstyle and what they plan on doing with it. If Caprice is running Fits, which you'll see a lot in competitive play because the Caprice wants to use her mobility and roam, the passive that she gets from the Fits with the 15% movement speed out of combat, on top of the overall mobility she has from her ultimate, being able to jump over walls, get the kill, jump back out over walls, and get back into another lane, is extremely strong. Not to mention that Ace can also have his jump too, so he can either run the Fits, he can run the pincer. As far as him kind of being the only tank on their team besides the Shank's a bruiser tank as well, but they don't have the full-on initiation. So I would expect that that they would run something like a pincer on that Ace, which they are, because he is very prone to that CC burst, and they want him to kind of be as in the face as possible and kind of soak up that damage for some of their carries.
Yep, and again, this is the day 2 of the first qualifying tournament for the Strife Challenger Series, sponsored by GameVox and run by Surreal Productions. GameVox is a voice program which we are using right now. It's got great quality and one of the best voice programs I've ever used. It's a lot like TeamSpeak or Mumble, and it's got a lot of the same features as they do with superior voice quality. Now, getting right into game, we can already look at some of the pet choices that these guys have taken. As you said, Pincer on Hale, and let's take a look at top lane, or the other side, and Pincer on Ace. So both of those are picks that you said really likely to happen. I also see Mystic on Trixie, which is extremely common because of her long range. Mystic works really well because, first of all, Trixie already has an escape, so she doesn't need Bounder or anything like that. And the Mystic is going to improve her magic damage as well as add a little bit more poke whenever she lands an ability.
Yeah, there are different pets you can use on Trixie that are completely viable. I always put Bounder viable on almost any hero. Bounder's just such a good utility type pet. It has a lot of the movement speed increase is amazing. The dash is awesome, and the slow procs that you get every, I think it's 12 seconds. If you auto attack a hero, it slows them for a percentage. It's a strong utility pet pickup and works very well on a lot of different carries. So that's why I'd never count Bounder out as an unviable pick. But yes, Mystic is a very common pick on something like Trixie, specifically because of that poke damage and the harass by the pot shot and the Aether Beam. It's just really strong lane control.
Yep, and it will be the Rook Tinder top lane, Bastion Malady mid, and Hale bottom, like we said before. And over on the side of Pain and Friends, we have Trixie and Caprice top. So Caprice is not going to be in the mid lane. She's not actually going to be able to get as much roaming as she normally would if she were in mid lane, but it looks like Pain and Friends are running Ray and Ace mid lane, so that's quite a lot of push that they have, and Ace also has some really nice roaming capabilities. Like you said, he can jump over walls, and then suddenly he's there in your face and ready to do a ton of damage.
Yeah, but they do have to watch out. So this Ace is going to be very prone to this double CC in the lane between the Bastion Zydek Charge and the Malady Whirlwind. And as you can see there, they're actually trying to line it up in that mid lane with the stun and the Whirlwind.
They actually used it right as you said it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just such a good tool against Ace, and they are not afraid to go after the Ace. He doesn't have this huge innate tanky ability built into his kit. So essentially, he has to be careful the first couple levels.
Yeah, he does. So as we can already see, there's a lot of poke going down near the mid lane. In the bot lane, we have a Shank versus Hale matchup. Both of these guys are quite. They end up getting quite tanky over the course of the game. A little bit of an initiation in the mid lane. Looks like Ace jumps back in for it. Slimes is taking a lot of damage. There goes the stun. He's going to be taken down extremely low. He's going to get behind the tower. There goes the bounder, and he's going to be safe. Now Pain is getting turned upon. Zingod needs one more auto attack. He gets it, and now Brain is on the run. And Whirlwind picks him up, and that was going to be one more auto attack for the kill. Double first blood for Crimson Blade.
While a little bit of miscommunication there, Ray landed his stun. The Ace did not think he was going to land that stun. If he knew that for sure, I think that would have been a dead Ray. But he didn't. At that point in time, you got to weigh your options. You got to think, if I continue to push on this guy after I already stutter stepped, there's a possibility I'm going to waste some time. They could have just backed out, took the advantage, maybe made him burn a few pots, and then got back to just farming, which is going to be good. This Bashamality lane is a very aggressive lane, and if you can harass them out to not let them farm and make them waste all their mana on pots, or sorry, waste all their money on pots, you're going to be sitting pretty good in that heavy engaged lane.
So Pain looks like he's taken 3 power shards at the very beginning of the game. There's no mana regen there, so he's going to be really hurting for mana as it goes into the game, and we already see he's taken down to basically no mana whatsoever right there. The big problem with that is that come time to all in, come time that he has to use his stun, we do have a little bit of action in the top lane as Caprice goes down. Shodi is now running away, but as I was saying in the mid lane, Pain's not going to be able to do anything if CB decides to go all in. He's not going to have enough mana for a stun combo. Maybe he'll have enough mana for a stun, but that's about it. So even though he's doing a lot of damage when he pokes, there's not a lot of mana regen. So if CB decides to go in for it just like this, he's not going to be able to do much to stop that. There goes the auto attack. Not quite enough. The stun is just barely going to force Zingod off, but there's no follow-up damage there.
Yeah, like you were saying, the mana regen on Ray is very crucial. I think the only reason I would ever run double power early is if I were going more of like a max my E in lane and try to use my my freeze rays to push the lanes and kind of harass out. That's a viable build. It used to be viable in early closed beta, and that's something that could be a method to use in Ray, but it's just extremely strong to start maxing his Burrow Mines and then his stun, his W, which is the shock field.
Yep, all the lanes are returning back to normal. Ace looks like he's got his Guardian's Veil, I believe that is, and he's going to get initiated on just a little bit. Zingod gets stunned out, and they're going to be able to back off from that. Brain goes in for it. He's going to go for the spin. Zingod taken down to about half health, but he's too tanky to let that hurt him, and he's also got the shield on his kit that'll help mitigate a lot of that damage. Meanwhile, in the top lane, a nice snare lands, and Warwitz is going to go in for it, dashing onto Shodi. Nice invulnerability on the stun from Caprice, but he's going to be able to make it out of there. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, a couple more trades happening. Pain again doesn't have a lot of mana left, so one last mine is going to be all that he's going to be able to do. Back to Zingod. Pain goes in for another spin, and that's going to be another disengage.
Yeah, so this is actually a really good pickup by Brain. He ended up grabbing that dampening cloak early. That Bastion Malady lane is a very heavy mana lane. They do have the Bastion, once he lands a stun, his Zydek charge, and he uses his breath, he's actually able to sit in there and kind of auto attack, but a lot of the damage is all magic within this lane. So this is going to be a good, strong pickup that allows him to hopefully survive some of that initial burst.
Yeah, we're also going to see them start being able to push a lot more. Brain is going to be able to start using his spin to clear waves. And, he goes in for another jump spin, takes Slimes down pretty low, but Zingod goes back in for it. Slimes is going to try to follow up, but a nice stun from Ray is going to deter that, but a nice dash from Slimes is... Oh, he's actually going to go down to Brain, and then Zingod picks up the kill back over there, but Brain needs just one more spell, and he's going to be able to jump onto Zingod. No, cooldowns are not close enough to being up. And meanwhile, in the top lane, a really nice stun by Ruckus, and there goes the stun by Warwitz. He's going to dash in there, and there's going to be the kill pickup onto Warwitz, and we do have a pause. I'm not entirely sure who it is that is having connection issues, but we're going to hope it gets resolved as soon as possible.
So like I was saying, I called it beforehand. The Tender Rook has a very strong level 6, especially if it's followed up, so you land the deliverance with the rook followed up by a bindweed from the tender, or vice versa, it's very strong initiation and allows you to focus target that one person, burst them down, and then you could possibly move on to the other hero depending on who it is. You're probably not going to catch the Caprice. Caprice has the ability to hit level 6 and use those quick draws to get away. But if it were someone else, I mean, Caprice isn't even 6 yet. So if they landed another Bindweed when it comes off cooldown, that's an easy double kill within this lane. So you have to watch out for those level 6 thresholds with the Tinder Rook lane.
Yeah, they were able to pick up a kill off of that. And on top of that, they've already got 2 kills up in the top lane. One of them happened earlier and one of them happened just now, so that's something that is working well in their favor. If we check the gold graphs real quick, we're going to see a little bit of a gold advantage for CB, but it's not actually all that much. A couple of return kills were able to swing that gold difference back to around 500, which is pretty negligible. That's 500 spread across the entire team, so that's going to be an average of about 100 each, which is not even enough for a health potion. That's just enough for a mana potion. So neither of these teams really off to a big lead yet, and it's still definitely anyone's game. If we look at where the gold distribution is, Bastion's holding most of it. Zingod on Bastion is holding most of it for Crimson Blade, so he's going to be able to tank up a little bit faster than anyone on Pain and Friends is going to be able to.
Pain actually ended up turning that triple power shard into a Archmage ring, which is going to be good. It's going to allow him to have that mana pool increase with the increased mana built into it. Plus, you have the activatable AoE return mana, where it gives you a set mana to your allies. It activates to restore 110 mana to nearby allies. Very strong, especially if you're looking to siege, and not to mention it's extremely strong in lane to kind of help refill that pool and allow you to continue to harass.
And a quick unpause, then a pause, and it looks like they're going to be unpausing once again, and we're going to get right back into this game. So Trixie, he looks like he's getting a triple power shard as well. Not quite sure what that's going to end up building towards, but he's going to have quite a bit of poke damage. But again, the mana is not quite there. 290 is the total mana pool. 8.3 mana regen right now. I believe that's out of combat, so they're going to be able to see what they can do with that. But Brain might be getting caught out right now. CB, not sure if they know he's there, but he's going to jump over the wall and get right away from that. They are going to go for a Baldir. If Pain and Friends know about this, they might be able to turn it. The plant, as you said, from Ruckus, is going to be able to give them quite a bit of objective control. But here goes the little bit of initiation right there. Vincel gets the stun off, but Zingod does as well. A ton of burst down on Vincel, and now Warwitz is in the very middle of the fight, goes for the hide and seek. However, he's going to get taken down extremely quickly. Meanwhile, Zingod is still trying to take Baldir. He manages to take it, however, he is completely stuck in the Baldir pit at this point. He goes down. Shodi gets trapped in a little bit, but he's going to be able to get out as well. That's going to be a 2-for-1 trade or 2-for-0 trade, and a Baldir going over to Crimson Blade. So 2 kills for a Baldir, basically.
So that definitely helped out the GPM from Pain and Friends, PnF, because they were a little behind in those lanes. They're getting a little extra gold for getting those kills. The only problem is that Baldir was just worth a lot at this point in the game.
Melody's gonna go in for it. Slims does a little bit of damage to Brain. His main focus, however, is going to try to be Pain, but he's not going to be able to get there. Brain is able to pull it back. One last auto attack's going to be able to pick up the kill, and now Pain and Brain are going to be trying to kite back Zingod. Zingod goes for the dash, short changes it just a little bit, and he's going to go, actually another dash. So the first one was Rocket Boots, actually, and now Pain is going to be able to stun him out. Brain goes back in for it. They're super low at this point. They need to be really careful, but Zingod has been dissuaded from any further action, and he's going to go back to the rest of the lane.
Yeah, if Zingod was actually able to land that Zydak charge, that stun coming out through the bushes, he would have been able to get that kill, and he's actually circling around in that mid lane.
A nice follow-up dash from Pain is going to be able to get him out of there. He's so low, less than 10 health he got away with, and Zingod is not ranged, so he's going to be able to back away under tower and go back and purchase items.
There's actually a pretty sneaky roll around. He faked like he was about to go bot lane, so Ray felt like he was safe to kind of go in there and continue to get a few CS. The only problem was that Bastion was not going to the bot lane. He was probably thinking about it, realized where the lane was sitting, it was pushed, he wouldn't have been able to do anything, went back around, and Payne actually almost ended up getting caught out. The only good thing about that trade, he almost died, but he actually ended up burning the Bastion tops, which is really strong. And as you can see, our Philippine friends, they are having a little bit of lag issues. In the past, they used to have to all go to internet cafes to play Strife tournaments, and I have played against majority of these guys from PnF in the past, so I definitely feel their pain. I remember having to pause multiple times for them, but that's one of the disadvantages of some of the infrastructure, I guess, in the Philippines. Some places have really good internet. Most of them have to go to internet cafes, or it's a social thing where a lot of them go there to be able to play together and have like that LAN experience, but playing online. So it's kind of cool in that aspect.
Yeah, it's definitely cool, and certainly a different culture than you think of here in the United States, where if you walk into an internet cafe, see 5 people sitting around at a table playing Strife or playing League of Legends or something like that, and just like yelling at each other as a team, that would be super weird in the United States. But in the Philippines, it might be a little bit more of an accepted thing, especially with the as you said, some places just don't get good internet, so they are forced to go to internet cafes instead. So it's a weird kind of culture difference there, but it's also kind of cool. Like, if you saw stuff like that in the United States, I would think, hey, that's awesome. But for the most part, a lot of people would think, what exactly are they doing? Why are they here? Stuff like that.
There's a internet cafe. It's actually the largest LAN center in Hawaii, right down the street from me, and I go in there all the time, and everyone just circled around playing all different types of games, and it's just such a cool experience. I've, up until recently, have never gone to like a gaming center like that before, and I'm actually happy I got to finally check it out. And it looks like they actually loaded back in, so we're going to get back into the game, but I guess we could talk about gaming centers later on.
Yeah, it's a conversation for later, but gaming centers are indeed very cool. So, going back to the game, in the top lane, we're going to see a little bit of pushing coming out from Crimson Blade. Again, they have the map control, they have the advantage up here. We see the GPMs are about 417 to 350. That's quite a huge difference, and they're definitely going to be showing how well their advantage is, and they've both got decent amount of power between them. Let's see what Ruckus decided to build the Archmage's ring out of, and that is going to be 3 powers as well. So they're going to be doing a lot of burst damage whenever they do decide to go in for any sort of engagement up there.
So Trixie did pick up the early win rush. It's definitely going to help their team comp out, because they are going to be looking for skirmish fights. They're not going to be looking for an all-in engage. So that's going to help them out quite a bit. And then in the mid lane,
in the mid lane, they go in for an engagement. Brain gets stunned up a little bit, and he's going to be one last auto attack. One more. There we go. Slims is able to pick that up, and now Payne might be getting towered over, but he's going to return it with the ultimate. Great pickup on the Zingod, and now Slims is on the run. He's going to wall it off, and he's probably going to be able to get away safely. However, Bastion just going a little bit too deep there. Zingod not expecting that tower shot to hit him, and Payne to be able to return with his ultimate.
that was a really good coordination by CB. The Rook shot his deliverance from the top lane, hit Ace square in the button, followed up by Bastion immediately knowing it was going to hit. He ended up hitting his ultimate, following up with a Zydek charge, all the CC from that lane. That was definitely a dead Ace. They did get greedy. You called it exactly right, and they picked up a return kill. So I would say, with all of the stuff that was blown, a 1-for-1 trade in PnF's favor in that mid lane.
Yeah, we also saw a couple of pets blown as well. I saw Bounders getting popped from both teams. And now Ace, Prain is looking to go in behind these guys. He's going to walk up towards them and just walk towards the lane. They were already under tower by the time he got there. He's not going to be able to do anything except push them back underneath the tower, which in its own right might be able to help them out a little bit. Now, Payne, looking at the rest of his items, he picked up even more power, so, eventually Ray is going to be able to burst people down extremely quickly, and we already sort of saw that when he ulted Zingod under tower.
Yeah, I think in the top lane, this Rook is going to be looking for another level 6, or his initiation by that Deliverance, and they know it, so they're playing a little passive in that top lane. but he's just going to sit there kind of just standing in that bush. I'd like to see him push this wave up. If you're not going to get the engagement, which you're kind of creeping for, global objectives on the map like this tower are so huge. Like, use your advantage. If they're scared to push out, that's fine. You're not gaining a lot by sitting in that bush.
Yeah, and if they do manage to take top tower, that's going to help set mid lane back towards where they want to go. He's going to ult towards mid lane. It's going to hit Brain, and they're going to try to charge right onto him, but he's going to be able to dash away. Pain is now being taken down to about 3/4 health, so unfortunately that ultimate did not quite do as much as he would have wanted. But as I was saying, if they do manage to take the tower top lane, that's going to be able to set the mid lane for CB a little bit back towards the towards a good amount of GPM with that global gold.
So I called it earlier in the picks and bans phase that one of the downfalls of CB was their GPM. At this point in time, they are looking a lot stronger than they did yesterday. They cleaned up their CSing. They're all around 400 or above, which is going to set them very well into the mid game because of the fact that they have a good team fight and good coordination. That they're going to be able to
gets
make
stunned
that work.
out. One last auto attack plus the jump from Vincil is going to be able to do it. Ruckus is now the one getting caught out. Pain waiting to use his stun until Zingod gets there. He gets the stun down on one of them. The other one is trapped inside and Ruckus goes down. Zingod is going to be able to escape. However, that is a 2-for-0 trade in the favor of Pain and friends.
Yeah, good pickup. Good skirmish pickup. They use their skills. They have the quick draw from the Caprice. They have the Wind Rush on the Trixie. They have a lot of mobility, and they use it to their advantage there. It's a shame they're not going to be able to get anything else, but they know that they're behind, so they're going to use that time to actually clear out some of this jungle and catch back up and farm.
Slims is looking to make something happen. There goes the Rook ultimate. Very, very quick burst onto Pain. One last auto attack is going to be able to pick up the kill for Warwitz, and now that is going to be pressure. We could see Pain and friends, they were rotating down towards Baldir for a little bit, but now that that pick-off has happened, they're thinking differently. They're going to start going back to their lanes instead.
Yeah, and they at this point in time, they can do a lot of things, but they do have the Trixie Ace, and they're just essentially trying to force them off of this wave. They do have the Bastion kind of coming in to help facilitate this push. They have the Nature's Fury coming in from Lady Tender, so they're going to be able to siege this tower if they don't get back here to clear.
And sieging the tower is exactly what they're looking to do. Actually, it looks like they're going to back off, maybe go for a Baldir with all 5 members of Pain and Friends up right now. This is going to be a risky play, but it looks like they might actually just try to catch someone out and maybe fake a Baldir. They can say, hey, we're going to make it look like we're going for a Baldir, but we're actually going to try to catch someone out whenever you guys walk through a bush. However, Brain is going to be caught out a little bit here. Going back towards his team, he would be walking through a lot of people from the other team. Ruckus actually is going to get caught out by Vincil. That is a huge amount of burst damage, and now Pain goes down as well. Warwitz is caught in the middle of the fight. He's going to go down, and now it looks like Brain is going to be the only one who's trying to disengage this fight at the moment. The rest of Pain and Friends has already disengaged, and that is going to be a 2-for-1 trade. Bot lane is still being bot lane, however, both teams again deterred from doing Baldir.
PnF is playing that comp very well, so they have a lot of mobility, and they used it there. They used the Ace to kind of go around the backside. They wanted to use Ace to kind of come around the backside, get a good flank off, jump on those carries, and burst them. What happened was they took a lot of focus on that Ace, which allowed the Caprice and everyone else to kind of jump in on those other people, those people that are lagging and weren't exactly on the same page, like the Tender and the Rook, and they were able to jump in there, get the burst, while the Ace just jumped over the wall, which is an extremely good play. They're using their skills to the best of their ability, and they thrive in that jungle. Those jungle skirmish fights are where Caprice and Ace really thrive.
Yep. If we look towards the bot lane, we have 418 GPM for Happy and 437 for Tyler's. So Tyler's just a little bit farther ahead on Hale. How does this matchup usually play out?
So the Shank is completely fine against the Hale. Essentially, he hit the point in the game where he can sit there and push against the Hale, and the Hale can't really do a whole lot, especially because of his item build. So this matchup is going to be a pretty stale one. I feel like the Shank can actually push a little harder than he is right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We have seen 0 action down in the bottom lane, 0-0-0 for both players. And the GPM is not that far in a disparity. It was sitting at 20 earlier. It has extended to 30 because We saw Slims decided to start roaming, and they called for Happy to back off a little bit. You might get ganked by Malady, watch out. But it looks like Warwitz is gonna perhaps set up a little bit of a trap. Brain is going to walk through this bush, but he is going to realize that it's a very risky play considering there are a bunch of other members of Pain and Friends here. He's going to try to contest for the Observer Tower. Stun misses out of both players, but Warwitz is going to get stunned up by Pain rotation. He's going to hide and seek as soon as he's unstunned, but that is definitely not enough as the rest of the team was right there and ready to collapse.
At this point, there's 2 in the bot lane. They definitely can get this top tower down. They could have actually rotated 3 up there to get it quicker, or they could have actually all gone for a Baldir. There's a lot of different things they can do. As long as they turn that kill into an objective, you can't complain.
And it looks like they will be pushing top lane tower. Probably not going to get the objective, but they're going to push it down to maybe a half health after this wave is fully dead. So that's going to give them a little bit of extra control, actually they might be able to take it if they both focus on it. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we have a little bit of action as Happy gets dove by Slims and Tyler. One last auto attack is going to be able to take that down. Brain is back here. He's going to see if he can jump in, do anything. He has CB trapped between him and a turret, so they're going to keep trying to chase it out. Oh, but Zingod is here. He's going to be able to pull off the stun. There goes the ultimate. Zingod's ultimate is not going to be in range to hit Brain. And meanwhile, in the top lane, Warwitz was dueling down Vincel, and he's going to be able to pick up the kill, dashing onto Shodi, but he's taking the entirety of the burst damage from that laser, and it looks like bot lane has decided to disengage at this point.
Yeah, the Aether Beam is just extremely strong versus the Rook. The essential combination that you can use is you can pot shot against the Rook. He's going to have to use his Q, his grappling hook to kind of close that distance at that point, which then Trixie can kind of use that Aether Beam and use her tumble to get away and to provide that full damage on that Rook while he's trying to engage on that Trixie.
Oh, and it looks like they're going to go right in for it. He lands the stun on all the members for Crimson Blade, but Vincel gets picked up here, or Vincel gets into the fight. He's going to be able to stun people, but that's not quite going to be enough for a full initiation quite yet. Pain is taken down pretty low. He doesn't want to go in for it. Nothing aggressive. Slims just barely shows himself out of the bush and forces out the rocket boots from Pain. Those have about a 30-second cooldown, so he's not quite hurting in terms of his cooldowns.
No, not at all. It's okay to burn rocket boots to live. A lot of times you'll see a lot of people burn their bounder. That's when you have actually lost a little bit, but that's exactly what those rocket boots are there for, to kind of provide that utility to get in, out of fights, and engage. And as speaking of engage in the mid lane.
Yep, Brain goes in for it, but it looks like Crimson Blade is going to be forced back under their tower. A little bit of a win for Pain as they manage to force CB to back off a little bit. Don't know if they're going to be able to get enough pressure down to take the tower. Slim's taken down pretty low by the amount of poke damage they have. Pain going in for an auto attack. It was a little bit too greedy as he gets taken down to about 1/8 of his health. Zingod goes in for one last charge. He's taken down extremely low. The Rookle just barely misses him, and Pain is going to get out alive.
I'm not going to lie, when I seen that Rook ult being fired, the Deliverance missed him by just a hair. And my jaw literally dropped. I was like, wow, that was going to be an awesome snipe.
Ooh, everyone dodges that shank hook perfectly, and they're going to counter siege on this. The plant is doing quite a bit of damage to the tower. No full-on initiations yet. Happy gets pulled, but that's not the target they want. Brain gets taken down by the Zydek charge, and now Happy gets forced away by the Hale's initiation. There goes the tower as well. CB is going to be able to walk away from this clean with a 2-for-0 plus a tower.
That's one of the disadvantages, like I said, of Ray. Ace. He's very prone to that CC, and that's exactly what happened to him. Yeah, he built a little tanky, but the problem is he got stunned by Bastion underneath the tower and ended up dying.
So Zingod is going to go in for it. Warwitz just barely picked up, or he's just going to barely live, and now Pain and Vincel are both being chased out by Tyler. Tyler is going to pop his movement speed buff. Will he be able to catch up to Vincel in time? One last dash. No, he's going to be able to be deterred by the tower, and Pain gets out with just a tiny sliver of health as well. Tyler is going to overstay his welcome, however, and get initiated on by Brain. Brain is going to go in for the kill on Warwitz, and he gets it. And now Brain is going to be taking quite a bit of damage. Not quite enough for him to die, however. Most of the cooldowns were already down from CB, and he's going to be able to get away under the tower. But, a long drawn-out fight from either side, and people just overstaying just a tiny bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So PnF, they're not playing the comp the way I thought they were going to play it. They wanted to do a couple team fights. They were trying to sit there with 5 people and protect a tower. That's totally acceptable. However, you don't have a team fight comp. You have a comp that wants to fight inside the jungle and skirmish. At this point, you kind of have to cut your losses per se, but you don't necessarily have to. You have the Trixie, you have the Ray, you have tons of clear. On top of that, you have Caprice. You can use your other heroes to try to help push side lanes and make people react to you. At that point in time, you try to base your rotations off of how many people they're starting to send and react to you, and try to get some of these objectives and catch people out of position.
Yeah, it looks like so far the big thing Pain has been doing is reacting to the pushing of CBs. So if Crimson Blade decides that they want to push a tower, they're going to start pushing the tower, and Pain and Friends, all they're really going to do is try to hold them off of it, try to counter siege. Vincel gets caught out by the Rook ultimate, 3.5 second stun, not quite enough to kill him down, however, and Zinggod goes in for the charge. He's going to be able to get close, but Vincel dashes over the wall. Nothing else is going to be able to happen there, and Slims is taken down pretty low. Ruckus and Slims gets taken down, almost taken down by the Pain ultimate, and Pain is going to be able to walk away as well. So a little bit of a bloody fight, but no one actually dies. Just a lot of ultimates popped and a lot of people going down pretty low.
Yeah, it was, I think, a little bit of miscommunication. They wanted to go in, and I keep saying miscommunication because that's very common with a lot of the newer, I wouldn't say unestablished teams, because a lot of teams came in from other games, but a lot of just uncoordinated as far as Strife goes and some of their skills and cooldowns. I think they should have backed off, and they're actually going in the mid lane.
Slims goes for a pick on Pain. He gets taken down really quickly, and now Warwick gets pulled underneath the tower. He's going to get taken down as well. Vincel gets the kill onto that, and now Brain is looking for a reinitiation right here. He's charging up, finds Slims, going to be able to do a little bit of damage to him. There goes the follow-up from the rest of his team. He's going to get taken down extremely quickly. Tyler, however, is in the middle of the fight, and he's going to be able to take out Vincel as well as Shodi. Vincel goes down, and now Happy and Brain are trying to chase him out. Brain takes the safe route and is going to dive under his tower, and that is going to be the disengage over there. It looks like they might be trying to rotate for Syndara. They have some tankiness, but no, they're just going to start pushing the bot lane as well, which is a much safer objective to take in this circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really smart decision. I would say that a good counterplay to this is realizing you're probably going to lose it. They are rotating down. They're going to try to defend it, but that top lane was actually primed for the taking. Shen can push towers fairly well. Ace has a decent amount of power. He is tanky, but he does have a lot of power within his inventory there. He could help push those towers down with that Shank. They possibly could have put a little pressure in that top lane, alleviated some other pressure on the map, especially because Syndara is an objective on the map right now. You want to have that top lane pressured and force CB to kind of react to that situation.
Yeah, CB has been doing a lot of. They've been forcing plays rather than put in a position where they're forced to react, which again is something you've been saying that PnF needs to start doing. Pain and Friends needs to start making CB react to their rotations, and we might be seeing a little bit of that right here. Pain and Friends are going to be hard pushing for the bottom lane. It's going to be taken back with a Baldir from CB, but they are going to be able to pick up this tower. So, in terms of gold, I believe that's about even, but the map pressure is going to be in favor of Pain and Friends. They're going to keep going, however, and we might see a little bit of a, not exactly base race, but they're going to be able to take top tower as a result.
Yeah, this is an acceptable trade that CB definitely calculated when they went in for that Baldir, and they seen him go for that outer tower in the bot lane. They were totally fine with it because they realized that they're going to get that Baldir. Go ahead and take our outer tower, not really a big deal. It's in the bot lane. Yeah, there is the Syndara up there. As soon as they seen him push for a tier 2, they're like, all right, we're going to grab Baldir and your top tier 2, which is very strong. They have the Nature's Fury. I'm not sure if they needed to burn it there, especially because they do have the Syndara fight coming up here soon. So that could have been something that they could have saved to help control some of the control the objectives and control some of this area as far as tight corridors in that Tinder plant.
Yeah, we're going to see the Syndara dance right here. Both teams just trying to poke out as much as they can, trying to see if they can catch the other team off guard. Tyler looks to be running in for it, doesn't find the right initiation, however, runs straight into Happy. Definitely not the target that he wants to initiate on, and they're going to back off for now. But Vincel looks like he's going to get caught out just a little bit right there. He's going to be able to dash backwards. Shody gets hit by the Rook ultimate, but everyone's going to be starting to disengage, except for Happy, who lands an amazing pull onto Slims. Slims is going to be able to double dash out of there. And again, another disengage. However, up near the top side of the fight, Warwitz chased out Pain as well. So disengages from both teams. A lot of ultimates popped. But let's see which ones were actually popped. Rook ult, Bastion ult, Tinder ult was pulled way back up in the top lane. Shank ult, but that's got a super short cooldown, and Trixie ult. So Pain and friends have more of their abilities that are still up.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad pickup there. They're actually trying to go in on this ace, but the Rook is getting taken down. Good catch there by Pain. He got that shock field around them. The Rook didn't know exactly what to do. The Caprice was like, hey, I'm going to jump in, quick draw, drops the anchor, dead Rook. Good job.
Yep, very, very dead Rook in that case. So CB looks like they don't actually have control of the tower, so they're going to go... There we go, Tyler gets control of it. And just try to force off the Sindara, I guess. They're not really looking too much to initiate, unless they can catch someone off guard like Pain and Friends did to their Rook. But aside from that, they might be trying to catch out Brain and Happy here, but they are two very tanky members of the fight. They need to burn these guys down before Caprice gets back, and Brain is going to go down fairly quickly. Really good job there. Happy's going to be able to get out of the fight with his rocket boots, but that was enough of a pickup for them to try to force the Sindara, especially now that Warwitz is still up, or Warwitz has respawned.
And Ruckus on Tinder has Nature's Fury, so that's one of those objective control things. They can actually set it in a place where it can attack the Sindara. On top of it, if anyone kind of comes in from the top side of the pit, it can actually start attacking them, so it starts to zone people out as well. So you can use that ult very good there, and they're setting up for that fight.
There goes the initiation. Vincel does not catch enough people in his AoE. Hale goes in for it, uses his ultimate, and Happy misses the pull as well. This is looking like a good fight for Crimson Blade. They're going to be able to chase down Happy. He's almost dead. Shody is now over here as well, seeing what he can do to try to peel for Happy. Both of them might be able to get out of it, and they will, but that is once again going to be Crimson Blade turning back for Sindar, and they definitely going to be able to take it this time.
Yeah, CB changed everything that I seen wrong with them yesterday, and the main thing was they weren't grabbing that farm. They weren't staying above their opponents. They weren't even going really even in any lane. They were doing well in their team fights, and you're seeing that now, exactly translating. Their team fight ability is translating into what you're seeing right now. What's powering that is the fact that they were actually able to keep their farm up and use that power spike that they're getting from those item thresholds to actually put a lot of pressure back on PnF, and that PnF wasn't able to use their team comp to the fullest right now. At this point in time, they do have a lot of poke with the Trixie, the Caprice, and the Ray. They can do a lot of damage to this Krytos while it's pushing the lane. They just got to be careful of some of these engaged dives, because they do have a dive team coming out from CB.
So Baldir's going to be taken. Krytos is now pushing down mid lane, and they're definitely going to be able to take one tower off of it. As you said, CB has got the superior sort of big team fight, whereas Pain and Friends want to be looking for skirmishes, we're looking for jungle fights, and just looking for shank picks. We'll see if Happy can force anything right now, but the tower is going to be deactivated right there. So they're going to be able to try to force this down. No tower. Zingod goes in for it. However, he's just trying to dissuade people from reinitiating that. Slims goes in. Pain gets ulted by Rook. Nothing else happening there. They weren't able to capitalize on Warwitz's ultimate right there, but they still look like they're going to start heading down towards the generator as well. Krytos disables it for just a second, and that's going to initiate the fight as well. Brain goes into the middle of the fight. However, Tyler landing a great ultimate on both Happy and Brain, and Happy is not going to be able to land the pull either. This is definitely going to be the generator going down, but can Pain and Friends get any return kills? Looks like Warwitz is stuck in the middle of the fight. He's actually going to go aggressive for Happy. This might be the end of him. Goes invulnerable. However, he picks up the kill onto Ray directly before he dies. However, Shody's going to be able to pick up the kill with the laser. Very nice play by Crimson Blade.
I think at this point in time, they kind of knew the power of CB and their composition. You've seen that bot lane pushing with those minions. I think at some point, I would have realized that I have a skirmish type comp. They're going to dive me. That's exactly what they're going to do. We're kind of behind. I've got to force something outside the box. They could have actually maybe split somebody in that bot lane, because of the fact that there's just so much wave clear still on PnF side with the Ray and the Trixie, they can help damage that Syndara, or sorry, that Krytos as it pushes the lane and apply that pressure so it pulls some of their heroes back to deal with that bot lane push. And that maybe could have been a strat they were able to do, because they maybe would have been able to do enough damage on that first tower that they would have been able to save their generator. It's a risky play. You can definitely lose a gen. They could decide to not even react, push that mid lane down, and then go onto your Crux with the Krytos. But it's a play at this point in time. I do have a skirmish comp. I've got to realize that. I've got to create those odd man situations, and that's something that I maybe would have looked at doing.
Yeah, so far, Pain hasn't really been able to take too many skirmishes. They got a few in the mid game, but in the late game, they're more so looking for big team fights, which, as you keep saying, they want to start doing the rotating dance. They want to, start pushing one of the lanes, rotate towards another lane, and just catch someone out in the jungle as they try to counter-rotate. But it looks like we're going to be trading tower for tower once again. Mid lane inner tier for Pain and Friends, and bot lane inner tier for CB, but CB is going to keep going for it. Pain and Friends look like they're reacting by going for the generator as well, but it looks like they will be sending Shodi back. That doesn't look like it's going to be enough. They're actually going to rotate right for the Crux. They're going to be able to take it down really, really quickly, and there goes the Rook ultimate. Shodi is almost going down. Tyler goes in for it. He's getting burned down by the fountain, but that is not quite enough to kill him. Rook ultimate is not either. Great heal out from Ruckus is going to be able to save him, and that is going to be a game that is just about one auto attack from winning, and there we go. Crimson Blade with the amazing call to go straight for the Crux.
Yeah, really good play there. Good calls. They realized, they were like, hey, we've got this down. We have the ability. We have Nature's Fury from Tender. We have the shield from Bastion. There's just so much utility on their